Hello and welcome to the Broad Street Hockey Podcast. I am your host, Ryan Gilbert. Joining me here, as always, is my co-host, Joe DeMarini. Joe, how are we doing today?
Fantastic. We get 4 Flyers games this week. How exciting is that?
I mean, hopefully it's exciting. Hopefully it's not torture for us. But yeah, first of those games are here tonight on Monday night, recording here, a little bit, 2 hours or so beforehand. Not going to do too much short-term stuff, look more, maybe some more big picture stuff. But yeah, I will be going to that game. So I will have a cutoff here around 6 o'clock, 6:10. There's also at Saturday's game. Big win there over Chicago. I was sitting there. There were some college age kids behind me talking about they were waiting to bet on the Flyers until they went down 1-0, and that happened. Went down 2-0.
Oh.
And you know what I wondered, Joe?
What?
I wondered where might they be placing these wagers? But of course, Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting, from the earliest in-game live betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting. There we go. BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football, basketball, NHL to UFC and MMA. Head to BetOnline today to get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline. The game starts here. All right, the show starts here, reminding you to subscribe to the Broad Street Hockey Podcast feed on Apple, on Spotify, on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts as well there. Joe, we last recorded on Sunday before the Avs loss, the Canes loss, and the Blackhawks win. How are you feeling over the past week? What are some of your main takeaways?
Honestly, it kind of went about as expected. Like, the Avs are getting healthy and have Nathan McKinnon and Cale Makar and Mikko Rantanen. All 3 of them are cheat codes. And then the Canes are just rolling right now. They've got some goaltending issues. Fyodor Kochetkov looks like he might miss some time. Freddie Anderson is out long-term. So it's like, ooh. But if they can paper over that with their very strong forward group, like, I'm not surprised the Flyers lost that one either. Chicago has the worst third period goal differential in the league. I think I saw that stat on the broadcast. So when they went down 2, like you said, I was like, okay, they've got this. It's only 2. They're gonna make it. They're gonna make up for it in the third period, and they did.
Yeah, I mean, shots in that one were 37-21. They were just getting goalied there by former Flyer Peter Mrazek. Luckily, they were able to get a few passes from there in the second period. And then, of course, the Michkov goal in the third period, or overtime, I should say. It was just a magic moment, the cold-blooded moment there from Michkov to see. But yeah, went about as you expected, as you said. Avalanche kind of beat themselves. They took a few dumb mistakes. Konechny was lambasted by his mistake by Torts. A few bad penalties to cancel out power plays, and you can't do that against a team like the Avs.
Nope.
And the Canes just remembered after the second period. They're like, all right, we're the Hurricanes. This is the Flyers. This is Ivan Fedotov in nets. Let's just pour it on here.
Yep.
Yeah. The Blackhawks game, big comeback win there. But before we do more Flyers here, there is some big news around the NHL.
Sure is. Jim Montgomery fired. 5 days later, hired. Yeah, so I mean, the coaching carousel moves pretty quick in the NHL, but that has to be one of the fastest turnaround times I've ever seen.
I think that is the fastest. I think like one of the official NHL accounts tweeted it out. Like the other fastest was back when Gallant went from Florida to Vegas or Vegas to somewhere else back in 5 so years ago. But that was 6 days. This is 5 days. And
wait, was that the taxi cab? Was that the infamous taxi cab out of like a press conference or something?
I think it was, and I think he was hired.
I think it was the Rangers. I think it was from Vegas to the Rangers.
Has the Gallant coach? I don't remember.
Yeah, didn't he?
I don't know exactly here.
Before Laviolette, I think so.
I don't remember Rangers.
Whatever,
coaches. But the Blues basically wanted Montgomery. Like they apparently, I listened to 32 Thoughts. I heard Friedman say that the Blues may have wanted Montgomery in the offseason, and that they didn't remove the interim tag from Drew Bannister until after the first round of the playoffs when the Bruins went 7 games. And, if they had lost in the first round, Montgomery may have been done and then went to St. Louis in the offseason. But yeah, now St. Louis in the early stages of a rebuild transitional period. They won a cup 5 years ago, have a few decent young players, but aren't really competing yet. And they had an opportunity to get a great coach, 5-year contract there. Great move by them and something the Flyers should potentially do in the coming years here.
I mean, Armstrong is the GM of the St. Louis Blues is in a position where he can just do whatever the hell he wants without any kind of consequence, because he's already set his own expiry date I think it's the end of next season. He's done. He said, I'm out. And this guy's going to be the GM after me. So it's like, he could do whatever he wants. He's like, what are you going to do? Fire me? I'll be out of here in a year.
Yeah, you got Broberg, Holloway, got the offer sheets, hired a coach there. And yeah, when these good coaches become available, I know we joke about, it's the same 40 hockey men rotating around, but there's a group of those, 5 to 10 guys that you want on your team. Jim Montgomery, John Cooper, potentially. I know you're a big fan of his.
Yeah.
So the Flyers were still a bit too early, and Tortorella isn't quite ready to go upstairs. But if there's a move that happens like this in the offseason or next season, maybe we see that happen.
Unless Danny and Jonesy fall completely out of love with John Tortorella in the next 7 months, I can't see that happening. I think he finishes his contract here. But after that, I think he's done coaching. It is just set up so perfectly for him to have a swan song final year with the Flyers next season. And, maybe they push for the playoffs, maybe they don't, but he can just be like, you know what? I set the foundation. I'm a proud dad. It's time for all these little kids to go off into the world and do what they're going to do. I will just pull up a stat from our friend Bill Philadelphia over at BHLY. As much as I would love John Cooper to be the coach of the Flyers, Bill will always point out that I think only once in history has a coach won a Stanley Cup with 2 different teams.
Why not come here and make it 2? Why not make another one?
I guess. Or maybe you should just be going after coaches that have not won cups but are really good.
Well, that's what I was going to bring up, because the Flyers may have their next coach behind the bench, Brad Shaw. He's done a great job with the defense. Everyone's been, talking about him potentially being the next guy once Tortorella goes upstairs. So, that's a topic for another day, but that could very well be what happens here. Because I don't think he's been a head coach before. He's been an assistant for his whole career. So,
but we all know the real coach. His contract is expiring in 2026, the same time as John Tortorella's. It's Ian LaPerriere.
Oh gosh, just come on up and bring that Phantoms culture up to the Flyers here.
Yep.
Yeah. Speaking of the Phantoms, it looks like the Flyers might have a few more picks guaranteed in the first round here, with the Avs and Oilers are officially in playoff spots here. They've turned stuff around. I don't think either of them are going to be top 10 or top 12 protected this season.
No, they're bad. The Oilers are legit just not that good right now. It's weird. And the Avs are getting healthy, and we saw what they look like when they're healthy for ourselves when they came to Philadelphia last week. Was that Dollar Dog night, or is that tonight? Do you get the Dollar Dog?
That was Dollar Dog night last Monday.
Sorry, that's a shame. But no, they're gonna play themselves out of that being a lottery a protected pick. So I don't know if that's good. That's probably for the best. We want the pick sooner than later. But maybe they would be bad 2 years in a row. I doubt it.
No. Yeah, they'll be in the 20s. Just hopefully they don't go on a run or win the division or God forbid win the cup. But worst case scenario, pick 32. You got 3 in the first round there, 6 in the top 50 or so. So
you can schmoove with those. You can make a trade with those picks. Those are they still have a 1 at the beginning. That's still a high value asset.
Yeah, exactly there. So yeah, they're in the playoffs now. Playoff cutoff is coming up this Thursday of American Thanksgiving. Flyers, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending which way you want to look at it, are on the outside looking in. They've been passed by the Blue Jackets. Blue Jackets had the same amount of points in one fewer game. So right now, the second wild card spot is between the Bruins or Lightning, depending if you look at the point percentage. And then it's that that mushy middle of the Islanders, Blue Jackets, Flyers, Red Wings, Sens, Canadians, and those Penguins down there, 391 point percentage. You hate to see it there for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, they what the hell? Like it's just wild. You hate to see it.
They've run their course. I mean, Crosby's going to finish it out there. We'll see if Malkin does, but yeah, I mean,
Carlson.
They have to rebuild. Carlson, Letang, they can't trade Carlson. Letang will probably finish his career there. Like, they still have some left in the tank. Like, I was jokingly kind of posting that Evgeny Malkin to the Flyers, but why not? Come on over.
They can't do that. They can't do that. We already have number 71. His name's Tyson Forster.
Well, maybe the Flyers trade Tyson Forster for David Jiricek.
Oh, spicy. We'll get into that in a sec. But no, the Kevin Weeks had a rumor a couple weeks ago. He was like, Crosby to the Predators? People are saying. I was like, man, that would be crazy. After their spending spree where they brought in Steven Stamkos and Jonathan Marchessault and Brady Shea, re-signed Juuse Saros, and then flopped by like the worst team in the league. They're like, Sidney Crosby will fix us. I would eat that up, man.
Yeah. I mean, I speculated that maybe he'd go to Colorado, play with McKinnon. I've seen people like Photoshop him in a Bruins jersey because they need centers, but he'll pull a Mario Lemieux and just stay with the Penguins through the rebuild until the NHL gifts them a number 1 overall pick to get a generational talent.
Yeah, so I was playing around on Tankathon for an article yesterday, and first click, Penguins won the lottery. I was like, God damn it!
Of course, sir.
Scripted. But yeah, the Flyers are outside the playoff picture. However, they were in the playoff, like a playoff position last year at this time, and then missed. So we joke about it, but like, what if they just pull a reverse this season? It's not like there are too many teams in the East that are that threatening. Boston is a disaster. Pittsburgh is a disaster. Ottawa's on a 5-game losing streak after like kind of putting something together. Detroit hasn't taken a step. St. Louis is fun. Oh, well, St. Louis is the Central. Who gives a shit about that? The Islanders are just mediocre, and Matt Barzal is out. And I don't know. I feel like Columbus just has like good vibes fueling them right now. Just like, man, we had the worst summer imaginable. Let's just like go play some freewheeling hockey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're getting good goaltending. They're getting some young guys stepping up there in Columbus, so good for them there. But yeah, you brought up the Senators. They're in shambles right now. There were some reports, I think today, that they may be looking to move some people. I mean, talking about Senators' potential trades with the Flyers is nothing new to us. We've been doing that since we started the podcast. You know, Shane Pinto, Tim Stützle, obviously being pie in the sky there. Josh Norris. So. They need a defenseman now that Artem Zub is out. So Rasmus Ristolainen, come on down.
Well, I was reading Sean McIndoe's rankings over on The Athletic today, and he was like, they've already got a new GM. They've already got a new coach. Like, what button is left to pull except a major roster shakeup trade? Like, one of their core pieces is going to have to go out to bring something in. So everybody laughs when I'm like, oh, Tim Stützle, but guess what? He doesn't have any trade protection. Brady Tkachuk also does not have trade protection until this summer. Josh Norris has no trade protection. Shane Pinto has no trade protections. Like, Jake Sanderson has no trade protections. Like, that whole roster, theoretically, is up for grabs. If they are willing to, like, be that drastic, I don't know. I doubt it. But if the Flyers make a big enough offer, maybe we could get something.
Yeah. And the Senators don't have a first-round pick. It's being forfeited due to their last owner doing whatever he did. So, yeah, they could be looking for future assets. Did
they like already say this first-round pick this year we are forfeiting?
It looks like we'll forfeit first rounder in 2025 or 2026. So,
yeah, they had a choice of 24, 25, or 26.
Yeah.
So, at this rate, I wouldn't do this one because that's going to be a high pick. If they do forfeit this year, that's good for the Flyers because then we move up one, right? I think that's how that would work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what happened with the Coyotes in the Ristolainen year. The Coyotes didn't have a pick there, but
21.
I mean, the guys you mentioned, like Shane Pinto, I've had my eye on him since last year. He's playing third line there. Stützle would be spicy though. 22 years old, get him to pair with Michkov, but I don't know what it would take to get him there. Probably
a lot. The Flyers first, like it's going to be a top 10 pick.
It'll probably like Ristolainen, a top prospect, like a Bonk maybe, or maybe instead of Risto they give him Drysdale and plus like Farabee and
it would be
a first. It would be a lot for a center like that. And that would be an go ahead.
Yeah, no, finish your thought.
That would have to be an off-season move, probably. Like I don't see them making that big of a shakeup in season. I could see like a Risto Pinto base deal in season.
I don't know if I know Risto's like kind of restored his value around the league, but I don't know if it's enough to the point where like Shane Pinto for Risto would work.
Well, not one for one. Throw in a second asset. Maybe give him a winger.
Third.
Give him a third. Risto a third.
Risto a third. Oh boy. Speaking of Risto and a third, this is totally off topic, but Robert Haig is in town tonight. I don't know if he's playing, but I found out yesterday he's a Golden Knight. Didn't know he was in their system. No, Stützle would have to be the Flyers' first rounder this year, like a top 10 pick, easy. Mm-hmm. Maybe Risto, and then I think you'd be looking at like Forrester or maybe even Tippett, like one of those just high-end guys or more. Frost, maybe, like they'd be trading a center, they'd need a fill-in, but like this would be an expensive trade to put together because you gotta remember there is zero trade protection on that contract. Every team in the league would be coming for Stützle. Like he's got that much potential for his age.
That's why I don't think that they deal him. Is like
he's too valuable. Like
you don't see guys like that. Like Eichel got traded because of his like surgery situation. Like teams don't trade young centers like that.
No, he demanded out, and he was in like a contract renewal year. So it's like, well, I'm not signing with you, so you got to trade me and get something.
Yeah, but Pinto's 24. He had the kind of RFA negotiations with them. They might want to move on from him. Josh Norris is 25, locked up till 2030. I mean, a little bit older than the Flyers may like, but he seems like someone. He's also had injury history. I don't know.
Sure has.
That's an issue there.
And does he have 1C potential? Like I know we're starved for centers on the Flyers, but like you kind of. If you're just trading for a middle six center, is that like enough to
it's enough. Anything? It's enough for now. It's enough for this season to kind of stem the tide. I would happily trade Risto plus a future asset for a 2C, like a Pinto. Like then you have Couturier top line. He's not a top line center anymore. Then you have Pinto or whoever second line. You can slide Frost in third line. And like looking at the lines for tonight's game, for what Charlie tweeted out, Farabee, Coots, TK, Tippett, Frost, Michkov, Forster, Cates, Brink, Lawton, Palin, Hathaway. Like that's 4 decent lines right there. If you maybe trade a winger or trade Frost and put in a better 2C there, drop Cates down to the fourth line. Like there's stuff to work with there. It's just too many wingers.
I'd be fine with Pinto. I'd be wary of Norris just because the contract is so long. Like if we're looking for a stopgap fix, Pinto, maybe he turns out to be real good and he's a below average 1C and just like a real good 2C. That'd be dope. But if you get Josh Norris, you're locked with him for quite some time. I know a lot of people are like, I know people want Brady Tkachuk, but like we just talked, another winger, really? Yeah. I get that Brady Tkachuk is Brady Tkachuk, but like another winger.
Yeah, they're not trading their captain either, especially not in season. So that's something else we can continue to monitor, talk about over the coming weeks, months going into the trade deadline season. But the Flyers may be more willing to trade Risto now that they have a right-hand shot defenseman that's pretty big. I think he's tall. Hauge Grans has been impressive in his 2-3 games so far. Like
I think
it shows that they haven't scratched him. Like for tonight's game, Zamula and Eric Johnson are the extra pair with Grans playing with Sealer there on the third pair. So
I like that.
He was kind of an afterthought, like in the offseason. We're like, oh, who's this Hauge Grans guy? Like, and I was shocked he got the call. I was shocked he played more than one game. I was shocked he played as well as he did. So Played 3 games now, averaging just under 15 minutes a night. 1 assist, 4 shots on goal. Like, let's see what he's got.
I'm here for it. He was ripping the puck too, I think, like in one of those games. That was great to see. You know, he has some pedigree. He was a second round pick of the Kings, and came over in the Provorov deal, which, by the way, like that trade tree just keeps getting crazier. I swear, I'm so, because there's talk of Provorov getting traded out of Columbus, and that's probably going to be a first round pick. So like, what's that going to turn into? Like, it's just crazy. But you know, I think it's the last year of his contract, so they'd have to sign him again. And you might as well just see what you got. See what you got in this guy.
Yeah, he's an RFA. Yep.
RFA, yeah. So why not? And I really appreciated Torts' comments where he's like, yeah, some guys, they play in the AHL as especially defensemen, and it just doesn't really look that good. But once they hit the NHL, they just really pop. And that's happened now with 2 defensemen this year. Emil Andre looks fantastic. If Helge Grans is able to continue sustaining this kind of play, we joke about Ian LaPerriere a lot, but he might be doing something right down there for the defenseman at least.
I don't know if I go that far, but yeah, now the Flyers have 8 healthy defensemen, plus Jamie Drysdale skated today in a regular jersey. I'm pretty sure I saw
forgot about
Charlie
Drysdale.
tweet. So like they have 9 guys now, and you brought up the quote that Torts would rather carry 5 defensemen than 8 on a road trip. Now they're carrying 8 with Drysdale probably almost ready to go. I guess they'd send Grans down, and then
do they?
Yeah, they would send him down to get Drysdale back. But once that happens, either they have to make a quick trade, or they have to be okay with carrying 8. And like, I think the Flyers are going to trade Nick Delorier to like a contender that needs a fighter. He might go back to Minnesota. Like, trade him to Minnesota for 3rd, 4th round pick. Also, Marco Rossi has been a center in. That's quite the face there from Joe when I mentioned Marco Rossi's name. But
no, a 3rd round pick for Nick Delorier. Look, not everyone is so stupid as Chuck Fletcher to sign Nick Delorier to a 4-year contract. I guarantee you there is no GM stupid enough to give up a 3rd round pick for 1.5 years of Nick Delorier.
Fair enough there. But speaking of stupid trades, a guy I think I brought up last week, Philip Tomasino from the Nashville Predators. Traded to Pittsburgh for a 4th round pick in 2027. Like,
Danny.
I know there were some attitude issues and questions with Tomasino, and he might not stick at center. But like, and there's already that's the thing. There's already too many guys on this roster. Like, that's why they have to make a trade. Like Eric Wisniewski here in the chat says, trade Risto, Farabee, and a pick to see what center you can get. There you go. Solves the defense logjam, solves the winger logjam more or less, and solves the center issue. That's the main thing right now.
I feel like that complicates the winger thing. Farabee's the only natural left winger in this like organization right now. Like,
Forster's playing left wing, and
Tippett is too.
Tip is playing left wing, and I want Travis Konechny to shift to left wing and play with Matvei Michkov. Their connection is undeniable. They're great at 4-on-4. They're great on the power play. Michkov, keep him at right wing. Get Konechny over to the left side. Like, it doesn't really matter what side you're playing on. You're going to crisscross throughout the rink no matter what. Like, I think that's worth exploring for more than a few games.
But Konechny says he doesn't like to play the left side.
So what? I'm sure he didn't like when John Tortorella was named coach either, and he's thriving now.
I guess I don't know, man. If he's like injured and stuff, he looks hurt. He looks hurt, man.
He's definitely. He's always like favoring like his left ribs. It seems like
part of that is also
oblique or something.
Yeah, I mean, part of that is also just kind of his general demeanor. Like, even when he isn't injured, when he like pulls himself up off the ice, he always just like, like he's got this like grimace on his face. He just looks like he's miserable all the time.
It's like, it's like the noises you make when like you get up off the couch or get out of bed. You're like, it's just the involuntary noises. He's just
that's his face. That's just his face.
That's just what happens with him. Yeah,
but no, I get the compulsion to be like, put them on a line together, but then you're putting him on the first line, presumably, right?
Yeah,
So then you've
first
got
line with Couturier.
Yeah, then you've got Michkov going up against top line competition. There's a lot less.
Not at home necessarily.
I guess, but then you're juggling the lines again, like a lot.
I mean, this 5-game homestand would have been the time to do it. They don't have another long homestand until January. They have 4 games there, and they're against tough opponents. So it's not going to happen. But like, yeah, I don't mind having that as a top line. Tippett, Frost. I don't know who he put there. Forster maybe as a second line. Like, yeah, it doesn't work with how the roster is constructed, but I think for the long term development of this team, I think it's worth exploring.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Again, like on a game-to-game basis, I'm like, I don't care. If it becomes a prolonged trend, then I have an issue with it. Like last week, we were bitching about Paling and Cates being Michkov's line mates. Well, they're not anymore. So it's like, okay, that was just a short-term thing. Yeah. But it was a short-term thing. They broke up Farabee and Brink, which is good. I was never a fan of that. I know everybody else liked it. I'm like, no, I don't like this at all. I'm really excited to see Farabee on the top line with Coots and Konechny.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're showcasing him.
Could be. He has the same agent or same agency as one William Gauthier and someone else. So, I mean, he's probably the winger they would be shopping out of all of them. But you'd be selling low. You'd be selling low on Farabee. You would.
I think Brink should be in conversations. Honestly.
That's my boy. That's my boy, Joe. Don't. He's Bobby Brink's going to get traded to Minnesota as a part of the package for Marco Rossi.
Honestly, I could see it changing 2 small players like that.
Yeah,
I can see it happening.
He's from Minnesota. You can just picture him in those wild jerseys, like
him and Brock Faber. I think Faber's from Minnesota too. Like,
Faber's such a nerd.
He looks like, if Jack Antonoff played hockey. That's kind of like Brock Faber's vibe for me.
I wish I know Jack Antonoff. Joe.
Okay,
come on. I'm not very cultured, but I'm cultured enough to know Jack Antonoff. Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, I just wish Brock Faber wore like sport goggles on the ice or something. That'd be just take the nerd to like the off the charts there.
I don't know. I honestly, I'd kind of be here for it. I'd be like, yeah man. Yeah.
Why not?
The Buddy Holly glasses, but his hockey goggles. I'm into it.
One more player that the Flyers have been kind of speculated, linked with, Elliot Friedman said today on 32 Thoughts. You could see the Flyers going after David Jiricek. We talked about him a little bit at the end of last week's show. I mean, right shot defenseman, former 6th overall pick, I want to say, in 2022.
22. Yes, he's who the Flyers should have taken in that draft and not Gauthier. They needed a defenseman going into that draft, and I'm like, you got 2, Simon Nemec or David Jiricek. Pick the one that's still there. And they went for Gauthier, and I was like, fuck it, his name's Cutter. I'm on this train. But from like my core, where I was like, the little voice was like, that's the wrong pick. They should have gotten a defenseman. It's who they should have gotten.
And then you had the opposite the next year with Oliver Bonk when you wanted Perreault.
Yeah. But look, I'm happy to be different front office. So
yes.
We've been proven wrong on the Bonk front. So I'm giving them, we've talked about it, I'm giving them leeway with the Jet Luchenko pick because they kind of must have known something about Oliver Bonk that the rest of us just didn't see.
Well, and everyone loves the pick now. Like, I mean, I know Thomas has had a few different scouting guys on Hosers, and he talked to David St. Louis about it. Like,
yes,
people are like, yeah, Jet Luchenko was like a high teens, low 20s pick, but we ignored him in looking at him because they had a 13th, 14th pick, and then not until the end, 12th pick, whatever. Yeah. So, but yeah, the Athletics' Aaron Portzline reported that the Columbus could be looking for a similar trade to the Gauthier for Drysdale one the Flyers did last year. So Friedman said, some of those players that haven't quite popped off yet. And the Flyers, pretty much every young player they have except Matvei Michkov has not popped off yet. Forster, Brink, Drysdale. I mean, that's probably the top 3 guys that would be. I mean, Brink's not a top value guy, but like, and if you're trading for a right-hand shot defenseman, you kind of have to trade one out because you have Sanheim thriving on the right side. You have Ristolainen, who's the most likely trade candidate. and you have Drysdale, you have Bonk, you have Granz now. Like, it's not a log jam because they're not all like that good, but they have potential.
So I'm just looking at Buffalo, Columbus's, Columbus's lineup right now, and I feel like their biggest hole is on defense. Like they've got some really exciting young talent at forward. Kirill Marchenko, Dmitry Voronkov, Yegor Chinikov, Adam Fantilli, Kent Johnson. Like they've got some serious punch up there. Cole Sillinger too, once he's like, able to play again. But on the back end, Zach Werenski, Dante Fabro, Ivan Provorov, Damon Severson, Jake Christensen, Jordan Harris, and Eric Goodbranson. Those aren't really exciting names for defense. So
yeah,
I feel like if they're going to make a trade like this, it's going to have to be for a defenseman. So which young Flyers defenseman do you trade? Do you trade Cam York? Do you trade Cam York and Columbus's own second-round pick for David Jiricek?
No, I don't think you trade Cam York. I don't think Columbus will be looking for. I don't think Columbus necessarily wants a roster player. That's why I think Bonk could be the most likely guy. Give him Bonk. Give him a first-round pick with that second-round pick, maybe a pick swap, something where they're both young. Bonk a year younger, has more of a. He'll finish his OHL career this year. If he makes the NHL team for them next year, great. If not, play him in the AHL. And I don't know if the Flyers would do this just for optics, but trading Drysdale, like, just why not just swap Drysdale for Jiricek? Like,
because Drysdale has no value.
What if Columbus thinks he does?
I doubt it. I really do. But if Columbus thinks Drysdale is worth it, maybe you do it. I'm not ready to quit on him.
Neither am I, but I mean, David Jiricek seems like a guy that would actually play defense.
Is he left shot?
He's right shot. He's a right shot. Yeah, he's same as Drysdale, Bonk, Granz, Risto. And looking at the Blue Jackets' top prospects, they have 12th overall pick from 2022, Denton Matachuk, and then Caden Lindstrom forward, Gavin Brindley a forward, Jet Greaves, and another forward. Like, they don't have any defensemen behind Jiricek really in terms of prospects. So
why aren't they playing him? This is such a what the fuck are they doing in Columbus? You have a 6th overall pick who clearly needs NHL time, and you're like, nah. That's just wild to me.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the Flyers should absolutely swoop in and try to do something there. Hopefully, you can probably get them for cheaper than you think. Like, they're trying for a 1-for-1, like a Gauthier for Drysdale, but not many teams have that stuff available.
That wasn't 1-for-1. We got a second-round pick in there too.
We did. This is true. We did. So, like, I don't know. I would like to see him here. I would like to see it, as they say, but the log jam is there, and they would have to move out a roster defenseman unless they're going to get him and be okay starting him in the AHL and then bringing him up if they trade someone else or whenever there's an injury, or just put him in the lineup right now for Granz. Send Granz down, bring up Jiricek, and you have a decent 6 there.
I'm here for it. I'd love to see Jiricek in a Flyers uniform. I think he'd be good. I don't know. The cost of acquisition, again, we've talked about it before. I would rather spend high value assets like early picks and blue chip prospects on a center. That is my priority. Like, clearly this defense isn't quite cup contender level yet, but there are 8 healthy NHL defensemen on this roster right now. Maybe one center.
Yeah, I mean, Couture is an NHL center. Morgan Frost's an NHL 3C. Tates and Paling are both 4Cs. Like, they're playing much above their level, but like, yeah,
exactly. I'd rather be going for a young center than a young defenseman.
But there's no centers with Jiricek's pedigree and draft profile that a team is disgruntled with. I mean, Tomasino, they didn't want him apparently. Rossi is the other guy that I would very much like, but I do wonder if they are anti-Rossi because he's so small. And like, he's 5'9", Michkov's 5'10". Like you would need a
No,
big
I think
winger.
Michkov's
Michkov's
smaller than 5'10". I think he's like
Michkov
5'8".
Michkov 5'10". Hockey Reference says 5'10". Maybe that's 5'10" on
Really?
skates. I don't know. That's what he's listed as there.
He looks
And like,
pretty small next to Ivan Fedotov.
yeah. I mean, you could see like Michkov, Rossi, Tippett on a line. Tippett's fairly sizable power forward type, but I mean, there's no need to speculate about potential lines with Marco Rossi because they're probably not getting him. Hopefully they will because the Wild don't really want him. 17 points in 20 games this season
That's pretty
would
good.
be what? Third on the Flyers, I want to say, behind Konechny and Michkov. Now, Michkov has 16 points, so that would be second on the Flyers there.
Right. But how many
And
games played? Because Michkov missed 2. I think Rossi's been in
Rossi
all
in
of them.
20, Michkov in 19 there. So maybe if
there you
Michkov
go.
gets a few points tonight, he's going to surpass him. And the thing is, I think the Wild need to make a trade to win now to prove that to Kirill Kaprizov that they're serious about winning to try to re-sign him because he's a free agent coming up soon.
Mm-hmm.
And like they're not happy with the liberties that are being taken with him. So I feel like them trading, like an ideal trade would be Ristolainen, a winger, say Farabee or Frost, whatever, and Delorier. They get a big physical defenseman. They get a fighter that the Wild already have a relationship with. I'm pretty sure he played there before coming to Philly.
Him and Sealer had a great fight.
They did, and then the Flyers get Rossi. The Flyers get their 23-year-old center that they need.
Yeah, I mean, I'm into it. I think that'd be great. I don't think the Wild would do it. The other thing to keep in mind with Minnesota is that this is the last year that they have the Parise and Suter buyouts on the books. So going into next season, they do have a lot more flexibility when it comes to the cap. How they navigate that this season is going to be a little tricky because they're pretty much capped out. But I mean, that's what makes Risto appealing is that they'll have the cap space for it next season. But
but they won't this year. And that's the one thing when I was looking at a potential trade, like they don't have the cap space. The Flyers have used up their 3 retained salary spots, much to Joe's chagrin here.
Have they?
So, yeah, they've used up all 3 of them on Hayes, on where are we at here? Or no, buyout. Okay, 2 buyouts, 1 retained. So they can retain. Yeah. Okay. Disregard then. So they would potentially have to retain a little bit or get a third party to bring back one of their salaries there. But I mean, most of the Wild's players have no trade clauses for some reason.
Yep. Bill Guerin special.
And or they've been re-signed recently. So I don't see any bad contracts there that the Flyers could take back. But, maybe they can get a little bit finagle something there from the Wild.
I'm looking at it too, and yeah, there's not I don't know. Everyone's signed for so long. Matt Zuccarello, but he has an NMC.
Yeah, no, they wouldn't trade a top 6 guy.
No. Yakov Trenin.
I mean, Trenin would be the guy, but didn't they just re-sign him or sign him to a long-term deal? Yeah, they signed him in free agency. They're not going to give up on him.
No, and he signed through 2028. That's a lot of term. Flyers don't need that shit.
Yeah. All right, let's get back to the current roster as it stands. Sure. And I titled this podcast "Not So Hot Frosty." So let's get into Morgan Frost here. He did return to action on Saturday against Chicago. Very energetic, made some good defensive plays, made some plays with the puck in the neutral zone, and then lost him because he can stick handle, but his hockey IQ might not be up to that level. I'm glad he got back in there. They very much needed him to get back in there after 2 losses. He's their most skilled center right now.
Yeah,
he's has the most talent. They need him to be good. They need him to play hockey and play well. That's
a Torts quote. He literally said he's our most talented center, I think, right? Or something to that effect.
Yeah. So something like that. Yeah.
I mean, he was noticeable against Chicago, but I don't know, man. I'm so tired of talking about Morgan Frost. I haven't even been here since he was drafted in 2017, and I'm already tired of talking about Morgan Frost. Look, if he puts it together now and starts scoring at a decent clip, that's great. Guess what? The season started a month and a half ago. You can't just like disappear. You can't be a top 6 center and disappear for weeks at the start of the season. So
that's his MO though. He starts slow and then he heats up when it gets cold outside.
Well,
maybe he transforms into a snowman and then is able to get his hockey powers back.
That does not bode well for playoff Morgan Frost then, because then it's warm again and he just melts. That's what happens. Oh, we figured it out. We cracked the code.
But yeah, also Morgan Frost tonight, second line centering Owen Tippett, Matvei Michkov, the line we saw in training camp and preseason. So hopefully they can get some chemistry back together. And on the top power play unit with Konechny, Couturier, Michkov, and Andre there. So excited to see what happens there. By the time you guys are listening to this, it already happened. So hopefully he scores a goal.
Unless you're listening with us live, thank you for tuning in.
Yes, of course. Yes, absolutely there. So what can the Flyers do with Frost? Let's at least spend a few minutes here. They can't trade him now. His value is too low. Do they do a 3-way deal? Do they do a trade for like a Zegras or McTavish from Anaheim, or with Ottawa where they send Frost and Risto and get Pinto and something else back? Or do they just hold this out, hope his play improves, and maybe trade him down the line?
Well, he's going to be an RFA this summer, so there's no real compulsion to get something done right now. It's not like he's going to walk into free agency and you're going to lose him for nothing. So unless, I doubt there's a big meaty trade offer on Danny's table right now. So there's no reason not to just let him play and kind of wait it out and see what happens. Look, we talked at the top of the episode about how Thanksgiving is kind of the playoff cutoff for a lot of teams. It's also the moment where GMs are like, okay, this is the team I'm working with. These are the gaps I need to fill. And this is what I'm willing to give up to fill those gaps. So maybe in December, after Thanksgiving, we start seeing a little bit more motion. Because there's most GMs wait until the new year to start doing trades. But it's been getting earlier and earlier every year. 2 seasons ago, I think the Islanders traded for Bo Horvat in the first week of February. Last year, the Jets traded, no, not the Jets, the Canucks. Who got Sean Moynihan out of Montreal?
Moynihan went to Winnipeg. Yeah, the Jets.
Winnipeg. Yeah. The Jets did that in January. And then I think Elias Lindholm went to the Canucks a week later. Yeah. So it's getting earlier and earlier every year. GMs seem to have much more clarity about this is the roster I've got. These are the gaps I need to fill. And this is what I'm willing to spend to improve the roster. And I feel like they're feeling I wouldn't call it the pressure, but the benefit of doing it earlier is that you get this player, you get them in your system, and they're with you for longer. So that by the time the playoffs roll around, they're fully integrated. They know the systems, and it's almost better for the player, better for the team, better for the GM. Here's the price. I'm giving you this. Take it or leave it.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably what's going to happen here. I don't think that's going to happen in the next few days. We've seen some trades happen early on this season, but
yes,
yeah, between Thanksgiving break to the holiday break, that month or so there is going to be huge for Morgan Frost and the Flyers, figuring out what's going on with Frost, figuring out what's going on with their defense situation too. Because looking at the pairs for tonight's game, York Sanheim, Andre Risto, Sealer Granz. I like them a lot.
That's fine.
Replace Granz with Drysdale and fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. This is about the ideal 6 defensemen you could ask for. Hold on. I just want to check one thing about the roster. Okay. So Drysdale comes back. You send Granz down, right?
Mm-hmm.
What happens when Ersson comes back?
Well, that is a fantastic segue into talking about the goaltending because we got Fedotov starting tonight. Kolosov picked up his first NHL win on Saturday against the Blackhawks and only made 19 saves, but I feel like there were a lot of big saves there. He allowed a bad angle goal that he should have stopped, but there were at least 1 or 2 shorthanded breakaways. There was another breakaway that I didn't go back and watch the highlights, but either made a save on or missed the net. He's looking solid. Kolosov's looking good. Fedotov's looking good.
I think we're bending the definition of good. They look fine.
He's looking so they're looking serviceable. They look fine.
They're serviceable. That's exactly right.
They're serviceable. Fedotov, since that long benching, starting with the Tampa game up until last Monday against Carolina, 3-1, 910 save percentage. That's good. That's good in today's NHL.
That's solid, yeah.
So,
but how about the 3 games before that?
That's ancient history, Joe. Come on.
Okay.
You're like, oh, have you ever seen the Flyers win the cup? That's ancient history. Come on.
yeah.
But, I mean, the thing is, will Kolosov go back to the KHL if the Flyers want to set him down? Because
we don't know.
We don't know. And maybe they just continue to play it safe with Urson, which I'm fine with. If Fedotov and Kolosov are looking serviceable, Urson is a groin injury. I don't know if that's been just reported or official, but like he came back, he tweaked it, he's out again. Play it safe. Let him get back to 110%. Maybe by that point there's another injury or something else happens that they don't have to make a hard decision here. But yeah, having 9 NHL defensemen, including Drysdale, including Zamula, who's waivers eligible, and Michkov's best friend, and Eric Johnson, who isn't going to be sent down.
Are they really best friends? Is this just the narrative? Are they actually friends, or do we just tell ourselves that they're best friends?
They're actually friends. You got to go back and read Charlie's piece about
all right.
About
that's true.
Ping pong and stuff. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So that's why a trade should be imminent or should be closer to now than close to the trade deadline, because there's a roster crunch.
So what if Kolosov is one of the trade pieces? Because we talk about Ottawa. Ullmark is underwhelmed. He'll get it together. I'm sure he's a good goalie. He's played behind Buffalo for years. I'm sure he could figure it out in Ottawa. But after that, they have who? Forsberg? Anton Forsberg? I think that's who they've got behind him. He's not that good. They have a young guy.
They can't trade Kolosov. They can't unless they're getting back a guy with potential. If they're just trading him just to trade him and appease him a little bit.
No.
What if he is as good as he looks? Are you saying as a piece for Pinto?
Yes, I'm saying as part of a trade package. None of these players on this Flyers roster I am trying to trade 1-for-1 for a pick, generally speaking, except for Nick Delorier. If someone wants to give you a 5th round pick for Nick Delorier, fine. But guess what? You're going to need him on Friday when the Flyers play the Rangers, because guess who's back in the lineup?
Matt Rempe's back. The big boy's back.
But yeah, no, we don't know the Kolosov details. Maybe he'll go back without a fuss. But if a team is looking to shake up their roster, but they also need a backup goalie, and they're also in a kind of a semi-rebuild phase, a limbo spot, and have the time to let Kolosov, kind of continue to try his hand at the NHL level. I could see that being a part of it. Because let's be real here. This is Kolosov's only year to prove that he has value to the future of this organization. Carson Bjarnason looks like he might be the starting goaltender for Team Canada. He has been really good in the WHL. Yegor Zavagrin is putting up Sorokin, Shesterkin level numbers at his age in the KHL. And they're going to come over. It's 3-4 years from now.
Bjarnason's next year, AHL. This is his last junior year. Yeah.
There you go. So Kolosov, this is it. This is your chance to show that you belong in the Flyers organization, or at least belong in the NHL. There are other organizations that have a bit more time to let him cook, so to speak. But yeah, I wouldn't be trading Kolosov straight up for something else probably. But if he was part of Frost, Kolosov, and a 2nd round pick to get Rossi or Pinto or something like that, sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, the one team that I think he could go to, and you mentioned him earlier, and if he wasn't in the Flyers division, the Hurricanes. I mean, Frederik Andersen is chronically injured every year. Yeah. Kochekhov's injured. They have Spencer Martin, and I don't even know who's backing him up. So,
Cal Peterson. Can we interest you in Cal Peterson, Carolina?
But I could just see Kolosov going to a team with a good structured defense and
being
not
good,
not winning a cup maybe, but being a Bob type goalie, and the Flyers can't do that again.
I don't know.
He won't win multiple Vezinas, but being a good goalie, Bob
good
won a cup
backup.
now, so I guess that's a bad comparison. But yeah, a good backup or a decent starter, or Alex Lyon type, I suppose. Someone like you wish the Flyers had.
I was about to say Stoli, but he's not a backup anymore. No. He's in a timeshare tandem for the Leafs. That should have kept. All right. I know we're running close on time, so do we want to just go over the games that are coming up this week?
Yeah, let's go over the games coming up. Make sure you check out the Flyers 5 with Steve Jaco running down these opponents. Tonight we got the Flyers at home against Vegas. We got at Nashville on Wednesday, Black Friday afternoon game against the Rangers, and then at St. Louis on Saturday. There.
What a stupid schedule! I just thanks NHL. Also, quick note. Mr. Ryan Gilbert will not be with us next week because he's going on a wonderful little vacation, and we may have Steve Jaco joining us on our lovely little. Oh wow!
It's been a while since Steve came on the BSH podcast. So,
second episode, I think, was like around the draft, maybe.
Yeah, it was early.
So yeah, it's been a while. But yes. Anyway, the games
tonight's game against the Golden Knights. I am seeing a 4-2 loss to the Golden Knights.
Really?
The Golden Knights are a little bit beaten up. Mark Stone, not sure who exactly is on their top line. I know Pietrangelo was potentially out for this game, so maybe not a loss, but I see a 4-2 loss. Just Jack Eichel taking over, Flyers not keeping up, and Fedotov giving up probably a bad goal.
I'm saying 4-3 Flyers win.
All right. Regulation or overtime? They only have 4 regulation wins all season, which is
overtime.
Yeah,
I think it goes to OT, or maybe even a shootout. Because look, I know Vegas is real good. They are a really good team, but let me just read you their record because I wrote the preview over on Broad Street Hockey. Please go subscribe and read over there. But the Golden Knights are 8-2-0 at home. They are 5-4-2 away. So, yeah, they are not good on the road.
Yeah.
They did just like pants the Canadiens, but like it's Montreal, that happens. And they also beat the Senators. So maybe they fixed their road issues, but Mark Stone is out. Alex Pietrangelo is out. Victor Olofsson is out. And if they get Ilya Samsonov tonight in goal, like Flyers might have a shot.
Who is starting tonight? Yeah. No one's been confirmed yet.
No, yet.
I would love a win, Joe. I'm going to the game. I would love to have something to be happy about there.
4-3 overtime.
Yeah. So then we have Wednesday at Nashville. You take this one first.
Well, it's an away game. Also, Nashville has been awful. I don't know, man. 3-2, no. 3-1 loss because UC Saros is still real good.
Yeah, UC Saros has been a lot better over the past 4 or 5 starts he's had. So
yeah, if only his team could score goals. You have Steven Stamkos and Jonathan Marchessault, and you can't score a fucking goal.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell?
Yeah, Nashville 5-6 at home, which isn't great, but they're 2-5-3 on the road, so a lot better at home. Yeah, I think the Preds probably get I think 3-1's a good guess, maybe a 4-2 here, but I don't think the Flyers get more than that against Saros.
That game is either going to be a snoozer or an absolute wild ride.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
And then who was after that? It is the New York Rangers, the Black Friday game. Oh God.
The Rangers are winning this one. Just hopefully it's not 8-2.
Really?
Like Rangers going to win. I know the Rangers are not exactly in a free fall right now, but two bad losses in Calgary and in Edmonton. They host the Blues tonight, and then play Carolina Wednesday, in Philly on Friday here. So
and they've got Montreal the next day. We'd probably get Shesterkin in that game then, huh?
Or do they want Shesterkin at home? Who knows? But I think that's a loss. Probably like 5-2.
I'm going to say 5-3. I think the Flyers do a little bit more damage. Chris Kreider might be out that game.
Is he injured? I saw they might be looking to trade him. Him and Trouba could be 2 guys.
Well, I don't think you can trade Trouba right now because he has an NMC, right? But Chris Kreider is day-to-day. Philip Hedl is out. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, Trouba, Keandre Miller has also been real bad this season. So, yeah, I don't know. They're still a strong team. Mika Zibanejad has struggled. They're still a strong team, but like, they're not great.
Yeah.
So, Shesterkin is really doing a lot of the heavy lifting. So I'm gonna say 5-3 loss.
And yeah, that's an afternoon game. Then they go right back at it at St. Louis on Saturday.
So stupid.
St. Louis does not play on Friday, so St. Louis will have 2 days off before hosting the Flyers. But St. Louis is in the midst of a 3-game road trip, host the Flyers, then go back on the road for 4. So maybe they get a little complacent there at home. The Flyers, St. Louis is they have Robert Thomas back, still have Broberg out and Nicoletti. So I'm going a sneaky 4-3 overtime win for the Flyers.
I'm going to agree with that. And we're almost guaranteed an Owen Tippett spectacular shot in that game because last year he had an incredible backhander against the Blues. So like,
yeah, well, I thought that was a Stars game.
He did it a few days before against the Blues, or was it the Habs? Like I think it was.
It may have been the Blues. I think he had. I mean, they're going to be in the Show Me State, so we'll see what Owen Tippett can show us.
Tippett, you got to show us something. I like his season is. If it's probably just a bad season. That's fine. I can live with a bad season, but man, it is a bummer.
He's shooting 7%, which last year he shot 9.7, 11.7 before that. So just keep firing there, Owen. They'll keep going for you at some point.
It'll get in eventually.
Yeah. All right. Make sure you subscribe to the Broad Street Hockey Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a 5-star rating and review. And Joe, where can people find you?
You can find me on Blue Sky at JF DeMarini. You can also find me there on Twitter, but I am really not that active anymore. My like millennial brain can't handle that many social media feeds at once. So like, if I have a thought and I'm going to post it, I'm posting it on Blue Sky, and then I'm just like, screw Twitter. I'm not going to do it over there. How about you, Gilbs?
Yeah, primarily my Flyers thoughts will be on Blue Sky at RyanGilbert.bsky.social. I am still on Twitter at rgilbertsop for some my betting stuff will be on there, my content stuff, but Flyers talk, Flyers comments throughout the game. Follow on Blue Sky. You can also find me at the Farg yelling at the Flyers to shoot on odd man rushes because that's definitely going to be needed tonight.
That power play is back in the shitter, so make sure they hear you, Gilbs.
Yes. All right. That's going to do it for us. Until next time, thanks for listening.
Go Flyers.